are high paying, well, then it's not worth it. And previous to this, decades ago, college wasn't thought of in that way. College, while a college degree was, an important factor in hiring, that wasn't the only reason you went to college. Um, you went to college for a lot of reasons, because there was more for you to learn, um, for you to develop, social skills and uh, have exposure to new ideas and new people and new cultures that you didn't have time to get when you were learning your basic skills through elementary school and high school. Uh, you know, that's what college was thought to be for. Uh, Now college is just seen as some sort of training camp for a job of some kind. So now what's changing about how we view education in the transition era is a reaction to these long held beliefs about what education is supposed to be. And one of the, perhaps the most interesting idea that's coming forward is the idea of whole child education. In other words, education that doesn't just focus on grades or just cognitive skills, but how students interact in the world and with each other. And that is, the basis of the theory of whole child education, which we'll get into in a bit. But, another, as I said, one of the things that fuels the transition era in general, but particularly our changing view of education, is the technology. Students now have access to not only tablets, but things like the Chromebook, which allows you to jump online and find information and create things. Multimedia, recording and editing and digital sound, so that you can, create, and respond to, in your schoolwork, multimedia types of learning, not just writing papers or giving reports, but podcasts and videos and all kinds of things, which can not only make education more appealing, but it also serves to individualize education, so that instead of being one size fits all, students' individual needs can be met more easily through the use of learning management systems, which many schools have in place, that show, through various means, the areas that a student has interest in or a student needs to strengthen, and as compared to others that have different strengths. So the technology that we have, online software and all of that kind of thing, make designing or focusing on individual needs of students a lot easier. Not saying that that's really being done yet across the board, but it's developing. It's becoming that. And there's a growing awareness of other competencies that are just as important, as grades. And this is what the Department of Education refers to as non-cognitive competencies. Non-cognitive competencies. And that includes skills and habits and attitudes that facilitate, a smooth life, whether it's work, school, relationships, what have you. And some of the skills that are considered non-cognitive competencies are self-awareness and self-management, social awareness, awareness of other people and the needs of other people, relationship skills, perseverance, motivation, that kind of thing. Those are things that have always been afterthoughts, have always been thought to be byproducts. Now, there's a move towards putting those in front and center. Those skills may be much more important than, what kind of grades you get, how much you know, or how much facts you can retain. And the reason we can have this shift now more than we had before is because we now have the internet, where we don't have to hold in our brains information about history or social studies or what have you. We can get on our phones or get on our tablets and type in a question and get a response and find information, in a matter of seconds that we never were able to do before, or that would take, lots of research to find out. So because we don't need to hold that in our heads as much, we can begin to understand the other skills that are important in education, these non-cognitive competencies that I'm talking about. So a lot of the focus of the government now is about making sure that the technologies that we have now that are improving education and have the potential to improve education greatly are available to everyone. And that means having an infrastructure that supports broadband and internet access, and having computers available in areas where there are a lot of low-income families who may or may not have access to such things, and schools who serve them that may or may not have access to such things. So that's a growing area and changing area as more and more technology is put in the hands of students who, might not have had access to them before. It levels the playing field in many ways. So technology, again, playing an important role in this. But again, the idea of whole child education, to me, that is what really is changing education, will continue to in this transition era we are in. And of course, we know that it doesn't happen overnight, that these things take an incredible amount of time to change. But I do see them changing. If you go online and you just type in whole child education, you will find these a slew of websites and articles about what this is. And just to give you a couple of examples here, let's see. Here we go. There is a move called Whole Child, and the website address is ascd.org. And what their emphasis uh, is to transition from a focus on narrowly defined academic achievement to one that promotes the long-term development and success of all children. And to do this, they have to get the community involved. As they say, schools are a perfect setting for collaboration with all the different aspects of society. They can reach children and provide health services for them, as well as education. On top of academic achievement too. Of course, this is going to be a big part of it too. But whole child education is about much more. It's about those skills that I was talking to you about before, in which we are able to have a self-awareness, have a self-control, build the kind of world that we want to live with, interact in a way that is healthy. So another woman here is her name is Lynn Stoddard, and she's written a book called Educating for Human Greatness, where she purports that the questions we ask shouldn't be about preparing the kids for the global marketplace, but asking what kind of people do we want our children to be. And it's based on qualities that education should seek to develop in children, including initiative, integrity, imagination, curiosity, self-knowledge, interpersonal skills. And this approach that she's talking about draws on holistic approaches and recognizing that children have multiple intelligences. Now, multiple intelligences is a concept created by Howard Gardner, who's a psychologist, where basically he talks about the fact that IQ is a much different thing than we thought. It's not just about measuring cognitive abilities. People have musical intelligence. People have emotional intelligence. And so there are actually, I believe, 8 intelligences that he talks about. So in this whole child approach, there are 5 kinds of learning that they want to see children exposed to. Cognitive intellectual activity, that's associated with left brain thinking. Creative intuitive activity with the right brain. Structured physical movement and unstructured self-directed play. Handwork, making things that can be useful, and engagement with nature and the community at large. And that last one, I think, is maybe the most important, at least for health and happiness of human beings, is the ability to engage with your community and the world outside, as well as nature. Those are the things that we're finding more schools focusing on. And one big aspect of this, again, another big discussion people are having is preschool. Because preschool is the place where those kinds of those types of learning begin. And they tend to get more focus in preschool than they will in later years. And that's why access to preschool, quality preschools, is a big issue. Right now, most preschools, except